Alright, that looks like that is going. And okay, it looks like I'm live, although there we go. It's moving. Hey everybody. I think we're good to go. Cool. And I'm not spamming you guys with echoes this time. Progress. Let me get situated. Alright. So I'm gonna play around more with the structures. I deleted the old meshes that I had and re-imported them. I did a little bit of tweaking in terms of just kind of the general scale because they were 3x4. I made them 4x4 now, and also added in just a 1 and a 2 block, so I can kind of just really play around with it in here. And I might be able to play around with it a little bit with the ogres as well, with just this kit. The doorways won't necessarily work, but yeah. So let me get this all situated. And let's drag in this. And I also refreshed last night off stream the documentation on the grids. So I'm a little bit, whoops, that did not type in what I wanted. So I'm a little bit more, I have it more reactive, or reacting like I actually would prefer reacting. So I can drop this in here, and then I forgot you have to hit this to snap it into the grid sections. So what I'm going to do is build this out real quick on the grid, and as you can see, sometimes you get these little, like, the grid isn't necessarily lined up with the ground, so I'm going to get it off the grid, and then after it's built, and then, you know, adjust it, maybe rotate it, that type of thing. So let me drag that one in, and then we'll grab human wall. Hold it a second. Did I grab the wrong one? Or did I? Oh, that's what's going on. I grabbed the ogre door. Ogre, human. There we go. That, move it. Hold it a second. Did I? Yep. Did exactly what I thought. I had that off. Grid. But now everything's nice and neatly lined up. I also thickened the walls a little bit. One, it just fits easier on this 0.5 millimeter grid. But it also kind of just gives you the chunkier, blockier walls, which I feel is fairly consistent with a lot of the older walls. In like classic EQ zones, and I can always make variations on that type of stuff too, if that ends up being needed. But for at least right now, I'm kind of roughing this stuff in and you know, figuring out how I want to handle it. That works. Actually, am I rotating that? I can just move this one. Actually, let's do this. Let's make this. Like that. And then let's make sure that's on the grid too. Which actually I think I already put that on the grid last night when I was off stream and fiddling around with getting the settings kind of more in tune with what I want. Although these stairs are going to be out of scale now because I didn't rescale this mesh. I didn't touch, so this is going to need this would need to be fixed to actually account for the new height of these walls because they're not scaled to that yet. But we got that. Let's bring in one of these floors. Hey Nick. Hey Zukin. How you guys doing? There we go. Yeah, I would have felt the same way had my classes actually ran today, or my in-person classes ran today. Never fun that first Monday after a vacation. So these are snapping way better than I had them on the last stream, which is great. And helps when you know the hotkeys too. Smaller snapping. There we go. Duplicate these, and probably can get away with a 0.5 snap. Nope. Just off. Oh, nope, that's the floors Z fighting. I'll have to adjust those just a little bit better to get rid of that Z fighting. Actually, I can probably just slightly nudge these because they're not even lined up. There we go. That'll work perfectly. Awesome. And then let's grab a copy of the door. Much better, and everything's snapping a lot nicer and a lot cleaner. Than I had it last time. I probably should have thought through some of that a little bit better last time, but I didn't. Alright. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm gonna try to select this whole group. is going to be a little interesting to try to select. Oh, never mind, I got a good highlighting on it. Alright, so that should be good. And now I can take this off the grid. Move it down. Well, the ground, it doesn't really matter for this, for the sake of just playing with the scale. But got that. And where is... There we go. Looks pretty good, although I broke the floor there, it appears. Hold on a second. Let's undo that. Oops. And we'll try selecting the rest of the floors. There we go. Alright, so move that down. And that should be good for now. Oh, this guy's floating still because I readjusted it. So we'll put that back in the ground. All right. So let's hit save. And I also brought in these new half walls that can let me... Okay, rotate those with this one negative, so I want to make sure that's negative too. Oops. Let's get that on the grid. And let's have it snapping. So now I've got some pieces here that I can at least play around with to see how the scale looks. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to... Let's build out this into a two-sided... situation where I can test how this feels with the different heights. And this needs to be -90. I need to really get a third monitor hooked up to this so I can have everything I want. Oh, thanks for the follow, Redgar. Or yeah, Redgar. I am so bad at pronouncing names, especially usernames. I do apologize. I'm doing pretty good. Just kind of playing around a little bit more. Refreshed on some of the navigation things with the pro grids that I couldn't remember because it had been so long since I had done this type of stuff in Unity. So I'm just kind of, again, just playing around with, oops, if I hit the right hotkey. Just kind of playing around with the stuff I was playing with yesterday. With some adjustments made. Oh, nice. Nice. I haven't played a Call of Duty game in a while. My kids really liked the, not Vanguard, but the previous World War II. one, and I'm completely blanking on what the name of it is. Yeah, completely blanking on that off the top of my head. But I used to love Call of Duty games. I mean, I still enjoy them. I just don't play them nearly as much as I used to. That's pretty cool, though. Yeah, I still love playing them. What is going on? Let's see. There we go. I just need to remember to update the database every time I log in. Okay, where am I? Head into this back area where I kind of tucked everything. Yeah, it's chilly here. Is there still snow on the ground? No, most of the snow melted already. But there was snow out here. But yeah, no, my graphics card, if I'm doing some heavy rendering, definitely will warm my room up pretty quickly. Oh, thanks for answering that, Nick. Yeah, HDRP. Feeling closer. Oh, I don't think did I generate collision? No, I did not regenerate collision for these. I'm like, why is the camera, why is it phasing through the camera? Oh, it's because there's just no collision on any of it. So I'll fix that in a minute. It's feeling a little bit better. I don't know if I like that height or that height better. But also, I mean, some variation I think helps or goes a long way for it. Yeah, actually, I kind of agree with that. It's kind of cool. Well, even, you know, from this side of the chair, being able to like share and get real-time feedback and stuff, I think is pretty cool. But yeah, no, being able to sit down and like watch is great too. Because I mean, one thing I've always told, you know, my students is there's so many different ways to get from like point A to point B. When it comes to like pipelines and stuff like that, and just people's general processes, I always end up learning something from watching other people develop or model or do something, either a tool I didn't know or you know, some sort of technique with using a tool or something like that I'm just like, whoa, that, and sometimes they're just completely mind-blowing. So that's actually working better for sure. I should have left the old stuff in here instead of overriding it just to get a difference, but that feels about the same height as that, but the doorway feels a little bit more human, you know, smaller size, and it is really difficult to see. I could adjust the moons, but they're about to go away. But the doors are a little bit closer. The door here is bigger, but we were already talking about kind of, you know, scaling it up, you know, 40 to 60%. So where do I come up on this? About halfway. up it, and now over here, I'm probably going to guess it's a little bit more, yeah, I'm more like 60% up, which would be like almost like a 1.6. So that's much closer to the screenshots that Sean was doing. /GM on. I'm getting an unknown command, Nick, when I do GM on. I don't know if that's because I'm on local or my account wasn't flagged as a GM account when that update was made. Yeah, I have it in the software development category too. So anybody who's interested in these types of things. Yeah, I'm not seeing any of it. I'm wondering if something is up with the flagging, maybe, for my account, or is it because I'm on the local? Although I was able to do GM stuff before that update. I'll have to ping Ali at some point to see if there's something, like, I could obviously easily be I did something wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. But another thing, again, feeling this is way small, and that's been some of the general feedback that everyone has been saying too. It's just that, you know, this feels pretty small. I was saying it feels maybe, you know, more like a brownie scale, somewhere closer to that. I think the gnome dwellings should probably be taller than the player. Again, I just scaled this down by half because the character models are about half the size of a human. So I just scaled it down by half to see how that would look. And I definitely think that's too small. Alright, sun's about to come up. But let's play around with this a little bit more. So, for the ogre, I think the doorway actually feels pretty solid. Maybe a little, it could be probably widened a pinch. I'm not going to play with that right now. But it is the same ratio, I think, as this one. I'll have to double check and see if this is the wider doorway or the single doorway. But yeah, it looks similar in terms of height, just scaled again more towards the character as opposed to scaling the character up. The door is scaled down just a pinch. The second story could probably be higher on it, I think. Oh yeah, I forgot I don't have the collision on here. But that can easily be done again with this extra piece, and it almost gives that kind of, like, you know, balcony top to the structure that a lot of our reference and stuff kind of has. And actually, if we go back to Shaded Dunes, you know, up here, there's kind of that just, I mean, this is not as high. I think this is probably about a foot. I think it's about 30 centimeters in actual measurements. But even on some of these other buildings that Sean worked on, to kind of get that little bit of a lip to it. So let's play with that. Let's see how it looks with this kind of added on top. Trying to bring this up back on my other screen. Oh. I need to figure out the... Oh, there it is. Okay, hotkeys for going up and down. In Unreal, I can just double mouse click, so right and left, and move up and down like I'm on an elevator. I have to remember that it's Q and E in Unity. That's one thing for anybody who doesn't work in like graphic software or 3D modeling, stuff like that. Man, jumping between some of these programs that all function very similarly but have completely different control schemes can be super super annoying at times. I think the worst in terms of like jumping between software is probably anything jumping into ZBrush, because ZBrush's control scheme is so different compared to the other 3D applications out there. With that said, ZBrush is an amazing program, but definitely has a learning curve just to the navigation elements. Unless you buy, there's a plugin that you can get that makes it feel more like Maya. But then again, if you move to another machine that doesn't have that, all of a sudden you've you've kind of lost that. yeah, that's my students always complain. Similarly, jumping between like Maya and Unreal, because I don't teach Unity. We have another instructor at my work that teaches Unity. I teach Unity a little bit at another school that I work at. But my full-time job, I'm primarily the Unreal guy. There. All right, let's bring this over here and see how this feels. It's not going to line up perfectly because I didn't redo these walls, but I can get the general feeling for it. And then when I go and build out a kind of basic version of it, I'll have the scales in mind. Yeah, actually, C# is one of the things I've been wanting to teach myself for years. There's always something else that pops up, and for the most part, what I do and what I teach and stuff, Blueprints works for me, and I just tried to load right into the game without going into the login. That won't work. So but yeah, that's one of those things that I've been needing to teach myself. Blender, I haven't really done a whole ton with Blender, just because I learned on Maya back when Blender was much more behind like Maya and Max and stuff like that back when I started learning. So I actually had only opened it a couple times, but Blender has made leaps and bounds between the two. But I ended up having to set my preferences in Blender again more to Maya. And then again, once you kind of lock in on and get your head wrapped around one of the control schemes, there's usually some sort of way to kind of customize the controls to whatever setting you want. Yeah, do whatever, whatever works for you. A lot of, like I said, I was saying, a lot of these things are very, very similar. It's just kind of learning the quirks and stuff like that. I always find myself butting heads with Unity more than I do Unreal, but I always say it's because Unreal kind of spoils me as an artist to some degree. Some things are just easier, and by easier I mean it's just like out of the box. I can drag something in, and I can import a normal map, and it just knows it's a normal map. It can basically tell, and it will set it to that for me. Or like automatically putting collisions on and stuff like that. Just minor extra steps. Like I know there's been a couple times I've put in like Geo, and I keep forgetting to turn it to static, because in Unity you have to turn it to static, and Unreal just automatically assumes you want to have something baked into the nav mesh. Oh yeah, no, I hear you with that, Zukin. That's exactly how I feel with Unity. Just getting back into it and being like, oh yeah, how do I do this? And then, obviously, it's been years since the last project I'd actually done in Unity. I think it was almost 6 years ago now. Yeah, just coming back in, and granted the navigation is mostly the same, minus like, again, moving up and down and in some of the mouse navigation, but I try to, again, push everything as close to what I'm used to as possible. I need to try some of the sculpting in Blender though at some point, because I've heard good things about their sculpting and their fairly decent compared to ZBrush nowadays. Granted, ZBrush I think is probably still far ahead, and I mean I haven't touched Mudbox in years, but Mudbox never felt like it was evolving to me. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Like I said, I haven't touched it in a while, but I always felt like it was a really, really, really poor, like, bare bones sculpting program compared to some of the other stuff, and was not optimized nearly as well as ZBrush. I'm starting to like this scale, just that extra meter on top of what's already here, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is 6 meters. I think this is a 6x6, if I remember correctly. So a 7x7 might be not a terrible scale for Ogre-based tiles. Interior still feels a little small, but again, real skinny building. That's funny. He's sculpted skin tight stuff on in Mudbox. Yeah, I never enjoyed Mudbox. The best part about Mudbox, I think, was the control scheme is so close to like Maya and Max, obviously, because they're all at this point owned by Autodesk. It's got a much easier learning curve, but ZBrush is just so much better optimized, and it's so many different tools and plugins for it. And I don't know, I could be completely wrong again. Mudbox just never seemed to keep up. Alright, let me go back out of this again. And actually remember to add collision to these, and I think Oops, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Let me add them this way, but I believe I'm going to have to add the components to them, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's nice to be able to do that without having to build everything every time you want it. Want to update something. Okay, awesome. It is adding the colliders for me. Add that one and that one. Granted, this isn't in there yet, but that one and that one. So those should all be good. I'm going to do this again. Let me just duplicate this. I'm just going to move this over here. Snap that on the grid. And I'm going to drag in a 2-meter one to see if just 8 by 8 would look good. So I can play around with the UVs to get the tiling good if it's square, especially if it's a square number that's a power to that's to a power of 2, and that isn't snapping. It's probably because I have it turned off. That would be helpful. But yeah, if it's to a power of 2, it's easy enough just to divide it or multiply it, the UV tile for it. And let's just bring this guy over here as well while we're at it. Okay, so those look good. This one will be a little off, but you can kind of get it. Actually, let's do it this way. These are obviously sticking into the ground and stuff like that, or not into the ground, but into each other. But I'm just worried more, again, about scale and just trying to get that locked in. And if this is 6, and that's 4. Actually, let me delete that. If this is 4, I can scale Z by 2. Why didn't that scale? Oh. 2. And then if this is 1.5. Make that 2. So this will give me the full 8 by 8 essentially, and then this is still kind of a smaller version, but whatever. 1.5. Oops, apparently I had that one mirrored the other way. There we go. So that'll give me at least a decent idea of scale, and I should be able to jump up on this one now. And let's log back in. Write some of this stuff down so I don't forget these scales. So human 5 pi. Your 8 by 8 seems solid. All right. Let's take a look. Yeah, it feels pretty good. I don't see either of those kind of feel good in terms of the height. This definitely, having the wider door, definitely feels better for an ogre. Although they could have something in between for kind of more of like a standard doorway, but I feel like ogres would want more room on a personal level. It's feeling fairly good. I don't think I put a collision on the floor, so I'm going to fall right through the floor, aren't I? Yep. I'm terrible at parkouring in this game. There we go. Yeah, I mean, at least with the capsule, again, I might end up having to adjust this stuff a bit once we get the actual character models in the game over the next month or so. But this feels pretty decent for being like a one-story thing in the game. And having the second story being able to, again, this is just a 1 meter extension. You could barely kind of see a ghosted line of where that is, which means I'm probably slightly off on my snapping in Maya. Or no, maybe not. It just might be the ambient occlusion in the engine itself. But yeah, that I can with these extra extension parts can real easily increase that. Let me go back over here. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna just throw some materials on here to see how it looks. Materials. Let me just use I probably should just click all these. Probably be faster that way. You're not gonna let me do it that way. Nope. Again, Unreal spoils me at times. Oh, but I had some stuff unaligned from certain angles. But that's what happens when you don't have textures on. I didn't take the time to put the textures on this stuff initially, so some of it essentially needs to be mirrored or rotated around. So like this one. Oh, actually, it wouldn't be -1. It would be 90. I must have seen up on that side? I must have. Well, it's something I'll fix on the actual assets. Weird. Oh, is that? That was down inside that one still. That's still a little off. Oh, hi Russ. Thanks for checking us out. Yeah. It's kind of fun working in that old aesthetic, especially since I had played around with that modeling style back in college when Everquest was still very much, I mean, not that it's not very much a part of my life right now, but I was playing unhealthy amounts of Everquest still at that time. Oh, this one's off too. I'm going to have to play with the UVs on those. That's what I get for quickly throwing stuff up there and not actually checking the UV alignment. Although these look slightly off too. Weird. Yeah, I'm going to have to play around with the UVs on that. Let me try a different. Oh, nice. I haven't. I played a little bit on which P99 did I play on? I don't remember. I just haven't had the time to dedicate to really grinding it out on there. Unfortunately, I've been doing a couple of the TLPs over the years because I did Ragefire for a bit, and then did Agnar because I was huge into Planes of Power back in the day, which was fun until eventually it just stagnates Planes of Power and everyone slowly stops playing. But I was I was in the guild that had like the second clear on that, so I was playing a decent amount. Oh, I'm sure there's plenty you can learn, especially if you trying to emulate the feel of older games off P99. It's the closest you're going to get to that old school experience for sure. Because the TLPs, while they're fun, and the reason I play them occasionally, well, actually I have characters on Thornblade. I just haven't. I started playing it with my son and my brother right around the time that I found out about this project and started doing stuff for this project. So I was playing it a lot, and then it just like crashed the amount of playtime. But yeah, you definitely can learn stuff. The TLPs do not, there's too many modern conveniences in it to truly get that old feel. But in terms of like being casual about it, I can get a ton done because it's so easy to gear up in them because of all the agents of change and stuff like that. Oh yeah, man, Agnar was fun. Again, like I said, it stagnated and eventually died, but it was definitely fun going through all that content again, kind of in era. Again, being able to gear up super quick was also a ton of fun. There's a project 2002, I think, if I remember correctly, that's doing kind of like a P99 version of the Planes of Power era, which I'll probably at some point check out. Don't know how much time I'll dedicate to really grinding it out on it, but yeah, definitely fun. Is that the Mac one, Nick? The Mac OS version being brought back? Wayfarer's Haven? Okay, yeah, I thought that's what the Alcabar project, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Again, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm dyslexic, so me reading is always going to be an adventure on this channel. But yeah, that one. I mean, that game, wasn't it perpetually locked in Planes of Power? It never got support like beyond for like gates or anything like that. Yeah. Because Wayfarers is being built off of the same emulator stuff that like Project 99 and the Grand Creation and all those like custom servers are built off of. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was. Yeah, and then the Mac one was just perpetually living in 2002 era, which is around the time I started playing. I started playing a little before that. Started playing in Shadows of Luckland, but that was not my choice because I wanted to play it way before that, but my parents at the time didn't want me to play it. They were always like, when we get DSL, you can play. And I remember, yeah, it was probably like 2001, late 2001. We finally got DSL, and the first thing I did was run out to the store and buy Everquest. And then immediately threw my Ranger off of the Kelthan bridges, wondering if there was fall damage in the game, and then dying, and having talked to my friends who had played it, they were talked about corpse runs and stuff like that, so I immediately started freaking out. I'm like, oh no, I'm never going to find my rusty short sword and my tattered tunic. So I was running around frantically trying to find my corpse, not realizing that I didn't actually have to find my corpse at that point. It was fun. Also, the fun part about it was the computer that my parents had that we were running the game on was such a toaster. For the first month, like, I had the clip plane. Like, the clip plane could not go past 0 on the computer, or it would lag out really bad. So I was running around with basically, like, a curtain of gray, like, this far. And I was, like, doing a search pattern for my corpse underneath the city. Like, I was, surveying for a shipwreck or something like that. Good story. Definitely questioned, like, oh man, I totally screwed up this game already. Like 5 minutes in, I'll never recover type of a moment. But all right, so one other thing I want to do is, again, these guys, I love their scale, but yeah, I think this is small, but I have EQ up. I'm gonna open it up. Oh no, I'm gonna blast this music. Let me turn my speakers down because my speakers are right next to the microphone. Well, thanks for coming out and checking out, Ross. That's pretty awesome. That you're also a developer as well. yeah, let's come back and hang out with us some more. But I'm going to pop into Everquest real quick, and I just want to kind of get a good scale representation, because it's been a little bit since I've walked around in like Akanon or Misty Thicket. Although it's going to be the new versions, isn't it? Damn. That's not going to be helpful. I might have to find my Lantern version and take a look at the old files that way. Sometimes the going back to the old zones, I'm not a big fan of some of the remakes. But I can at least, I'm trying to think, Misty Thicket has been reworked. Could probably look at Rivervale though, real quickly. But I'm not going to get exactly what I wanted to look at. Actually, let me go look at the brownie stuff real quick, because I can get there super fast, because I believe I still have the Talon's breastplate on this character. It's been quite some time since I've actually played it, though. Oh my god, these bags are crazy. Couldn't even tell you what half this stuff is. Oh, you got a short video in Slack? Oh, from Vanguard. You know, I only played Vanguard to probably like 30-ish. I don't know if I ever actually went to any of the Gnomish areas in Vanguard. But the scale's definitely good from what that short video showed. Pixies, brownies are over here. Oh, did I just... Oh, nope. Just froze for a second. It's probably because I've got Unity open and I'm streaming and all that stuff. Check out the brownie camp, and then I'll run over to Rivervale. Now, their walls are pretty high, actually. Their houses are pretty small, though. Their houses are actually... Oh my God, I've got so many hotkeys on this thing. What? What is going on? Alright, I don't care about loot. That's about the size of a house. Obviously, you can't go in these structures, and these guys are what, the size of your knee? Why am I hovering? Let's turn off Spirit Eagle. Yeah, I mean, these guys go up to my thigh. And the gnomes are about... Well, based off the rough outs that Zukin was playing around with. For ours, are probably, you know, more on my hip. Probably about more the size of that door compared to my knee. So yeah, definitely scale that up a pinch. Because if the gnomes are that scale, just above the knee, almost twice. So it should be... Basically, I should be able to stand 2 gnomes on top of each other to get in a doorway, which is definitely not, you know, not the case here. So the doorway itself might be better at about the height of that wall. Write that down so I know to play around with that. Otherwise, I'm going to forget that. That might be a better bet. And then, essentially... Actually, I could probably fake it by... moving that up. And y is -1 point. So something closer to that. Let's make this a 7.5. Make this 7.5. And that's gonna be my... Oh, good point. Yeah, they're not friendly, Zukin. And I'm just sitting here as they're, like, walloping on my ankles. Yeah, I just reposted that one to death. Let me check out the fairy stuff while I pop back in here. Because it's just over here. I think the fairies, though, are just more in, like, an actual tower. Yeah, they're just in... They've just kind of inhabited a normal tower. They didn't... I don't think... I never assumed that they actually built that themselves. Alright, let's go back over here and actually look at the game. And we'll make this 7.5. Oops, not 75. That would be gigantic. Let's get all of these snapped to the grid so I can snap this together a little bit better. Although it's still probably not going to be perfect because none of this stuff is modeled for that scale. Snapping. So there's a pinch of an overlap. .75, 75. And then I'll just make this one last one kind of the scale, and then we'll take a peek. And if this is right, the next time I start playing around with some of these primitive shapes, I'll make sure to make a ogre-based one with the scaled adjustments in mind, and then same with the gnome. Yeah, you think that started looking better there, Zukin? Because I'm feeling exactly the same way. I want to take a look at it though in person. All right. Just keep shrinking the buildings on me to get it back to that. Yeah, that feels good. That feels right, because like the human character's head, like it's just too small. And again, I'll play around with these measurements to get them like locked in on probably a 10 centimeter to a 10th centimeter somewhere. Just to make it easier to replicate. But that is feeling a lot better. Even though I agree with Zukin, I like how cute the the super tiny walls were. But I think if we have any really tiny races, you know, more like where'd they go? Like the brownies, where they're just super they're tiny even to, you know, halflings and gnomes. That kind of scale is what I'd aim for, unless, you know, a lore reason wise it doesn't make sense to have it that tiny. But like I'll call those like microscopic races if we end up having any. I think we'll go for that, but this I think feels a lot better than the previous one. And same with these. I think these are much better scale to hit for. So I'll probably retool these ones with those similar measurements, kind of like how I did this one, and then bring those all in and play around with it a little bit more, and see how that feels. But I think Let's start with these guys. So let me... I don't even feel like I need to really take a look at Rivervale and stuff like that. But I will. What the hell? Where's my mug? But I'm glad you shared that video, Zukin. I should get the Vanguard emulator running on this machine. Because I had it running on my old machine, but I don't think I ever set it up on this one. Bad side, neutral side, good side. And take a look at some of the gnomish areas, if I can find my way to them. I'll have to dig through where all that stuff is. Rivervale's the last one, I think, isn't it? Vale, yep. Vale, come on. I will. It's been like I said, I only played up to like level 30-ish. When my brother, me, and my ex kind of all... Well, I think I was the last man standing out of that group. But we didn't really have I don't think we had a guild, or if we did, it disbanded. And it wasn't a memorable guild, because honestly, I don't remember. Oh, on the EMU, they have teleportation activated. That would be extremely helpful. Granted, again, not the old classic stuff, but sense of scale is still kind of there. Though it feels really big in here. Maybe I'm thinking of smaller races too small. Need to be careful with my area effect arrow shot here. Yeah, okay, that's not just me. I was actually questioning that in the back of my head, if those were larger. They felt... That's where my my mind immediately went. I don't remember if there's actually any of the little huts in here. But their doorways are about the size of a human, which is actually similar to the scale we have over here now, where it's about, you know, the player capsule. That one's right now, this is slightly under, and theirs is slightly over. But we could always, you know, keep it a little bit on the smaller side, just to annoy everybody, so that we gotta crouch through. I wonder how it feels at a more hobbity scale. Let me use my shrink stick. Cool. hobbity now. So yeah, it feels fairly just normal scale. Ceiling height for the human stuff actually feels pretty solid to this old classic ratio. At least, again, you know, the hobbit structures scale to the hobbits, which I'm assuming is going to translate pretty well to the human. If I ran into an old human zone, I mean, I could run over the high pass and get similar spots. But yeah, the more modular sections I think are working pretty well, and then, you know, more stuff like this broken up, kind of like we had in our me and Sean were going back and forth earlier in Slack. You know, have this more asymmetrical stuff that, you know, some of these like rock things could be easily built out of a couple different, you know, rock shapes that we kind of just tuck and stick into each other. But things like just the little, you know, breaks in the ground and stuff like that, you know, are going to be a little bit less less modular, more kind of handcrafting those sections. Go back, zone, and get back to my normal half-elf height. I should probably do this again, but without the newer Lukeland models loaded. Come back in with the classic characters to see if they if the scale is exact, how close the scale is. Like, does it change at all between the two? Because I've never actually done that as a comparison against anything in here. Let's do an experiment. What's something that's close to Paytas's height? So his head... that darker pebble. Is he grounded? I'm not flying. Yeah, I don't have Spirit of Eagles on, or Flight of Eagles, or whatever the current spell is. I don't even remember. He's right about there. So let's camp out. Or do I have to... I'm gonna back all the way out, and I'll just load it back in. Oh, do I have to do that here in game configuration. Half elf male off. General ratio. Let's go with that for now. Oh, I should probably bring these back up because I'm not looking at what's going on in chat. Oh, good. I ignored chat for a minute there, and there wasn't anything going on. Oh, so let's load this back in. Yeah, I closed it. I'll load this back in, and we'll take a look and see if the character's height changed at all. I'm gonna guess no, or if it did, it's gonna be like negligible. Yeah, can't speak today. Gonna do that, and then after that, I'll go back and retool some of those excuse me, some of those kind of individual blocks to the right size, bring them in, and then know that yes, these metrics work, and then you can start kind of going from there. And wow, that's actually surprising. Hold on, let me move these hotbars out of the way. The half-elves actually shrink, because that is the point. And granted, I was even aimed a little. My camera isn't maybe exactly at the same level, but that is definitely above that. So I don't know in real world dimensions, but my head is essentially at this point. Angle so my 2.0 graphic isn't getting in the way. So camera's about, or the old model's about here, and the newer model's about here. Granted, you know, camera angles are going to play a little bit into that illusion, but I mean, I'd have to be looking downward, and I'm almost guarantee I was looking more upward. It's just I think naturally when I'm looking at like straight ahead of my characters, I always tend to be a little below for some reason. I don't know why. But if I'm leveling this out as basically level as I can get it, I'm definitely around here, where before I was touching that. That's a good 3 to 6 inches of height difference. I'd never realized that. That's crazy. That was literally not what I was expecting. I was expecting, if anything, these guys to be a little shorter. I figured the height might come from just the way the helmet on the Luklin models are a little bit more kind of pointed on the half-elves, where these are kind of more of a, you know, coif, and my graphics card had another hiccup. You know, it's a little bit more kind of a flat top with a coif. Crazy. Alright, I'm going to turn that off now. Really not expecting that. You're looking at the wrong spot. Alright. Oh, I closed Maya already. So that I wouldn't interfere with Unity. Which, let me turn this off. And I'm going to close it just for now. I think I'm going to have to invest in some more RAM. Not that this doesn't have a decent amount of RAM in it already, but streaming, definitely I can't jump between programs as much. I noticed it has to load when I pop back into the game, and causes all sorts of little issues. Okay, so let's just import. All of the Ogre ones. Oh, are you not going to let me control? I hate when programs do that and they don't let you control, select, import multiples. So we'll import that. And import that. And here I go again, trying to control select multiple things to import at the same time. What I should probably have just done is opened up the folder and just dragged and dropped all this stuff into the scene. That would have been faster. But I've already started, so I'm committed. Import. Also missing the windows. I'll leave the windows. I'm worried more about the walls right now because the windows were just kind of there to get. So I can look at like eye level, like does the character walk up, and kind of like how high do I want the windows and how tall do I want the windows. And some of the windows are probably not even going to be like see-through, so it'll just be a bunch of different meshes that are essentially kind of just tucked in there that, you know, might have some, you know, modeling, or could end up just being, you know, different textures we can swap in and out depending on what exactly the window looks like and what kind of functionality. You know, do we actually care if the player can see through this window, or is it more of a, you know, it allows us to kind of play around with different different uses for those. Okay, so what did I write down? 8 by 8. All right, so let's move this stuff around, and actually, yeah, we'll use these same ones. All right, so snap that to 0, 0, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we'll do the same thing from here. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got it perfectly squared. And then I'm going to test how it looks with the same as the human. Whoop, that was not what I wanted to do. The same as the humans, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, 1 less. Yeah, so both of them end up being half a meter. So what I ended up doing, the human walls were at 40 centimeters, and I made them 50. So I'm reducing the ogres by as much as I increased this, just to help with snapping. And I wonder if that will make it feel any, you know, thinner and less kind of blocky once we actually get it into the engine again. So let's reset. Okay, so we got that. And shoot, how high? Oh, darn it, I closed. Maybe open back up. Let me see how high the Ogre door ended up being after I made adjustments to it. It's one of the nice things about bringing in things that are built to either 2x4 or 1x4 meters. I can real easily figure out how high something is about. Okay, so let's bring in, where is my, oh, I'm not in my scale geo. Okay, let's bring in the 4x1. Let's see how many of these stack on top of each other. Increase that back up to 0.5. Actually, probably do it up to a full meter. Nope. Move that back up. Looks pretty good. This is a little over 4 meters, but these might actually be sticking into each other to some degree. I can't tell without textures on them. So we'll do about 4 meters on that door. Oops, and I moved Maya into the other window. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. So it's at the same height. Let's actually fix this because this is based. The reason it's not on a. I like to keep things on lines just because it makes things easier to get back to if I need to fix it, and then if there's a case that comes where I need to adjust it, I usually do that. But that can all be fixed later. But keep that height so it's a little bit more consistent. And then we'll do the same thing with this one. So if I throw textures on this, the UVs are going to be super messed up, but it should work for what I needed to do right now. So 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that's 8. And then this needs to be up just above that. Okay. So those are the main Ogre ones that I was using. Let's snap this stuff back into the location I need to. So I'm just kind of zeroing the widget out on the world axis. And then actually let's scale these two so they're 8x8. Wow, and I did not do a good job yesterday of making sure those were actually on the point they needed to be. Part of it's just trying to get the stuff done and knowing that this is going to be, you know, not actually used pieces of geo. It's all there basically just to lock in on the metrics, and then I can start modeling the stuff probably either later tonight or later this week. Start working on some, you know, basic parts that we can use to start building out some of the city. All right, so let's export this. This is... Oh, I should really rename this. Hold on. Before I do this. What did I name this? Wall. Let's call this wall 8x8. Wall 8x8. Oh, I didn't fix all of them with Wise, did I? So I'm gonna bring that in, and then I'm gonna be like, oh, I did this to like 2 of them and not all of them. Or actually, I did it to 1 of them and not 2 of them. My bad. But there we go. Now they're all correct. And to the same scale. Okay, so let's export this out again. This is the wide Ogre 8x8. That is the other door, and by 8. And need to do both of these floors. There we go. All right, so I'm just gonna export the 1. I don't need both of them. Ogre floor 2 materials. All right. I think I exported all of them. Let me double check. Standard or wall 8x8 was at 1 p.m. and then oh no, let me do that again. Because they're at different times. There we go. So we know those are definitely done this time. All right, so I've got this little section. I'm just going to throw these over here real quick. And I renamed them so I can just bring in brand new ones. So 8x8. Actually, I didn't rename all of them. What am I talking about? 8x8 and floor Ogre doors. Import. Man, my keypad does not, or Unity does not like me typing with this keypad the first time I start typing stuff. Let's just bring this over here real quick and see that it's similar in scale so that I didn't mess anything up. There we go. So the doorway's a little wider. I didn't actually adjust these at all. I just slid this over, so that's where that came from. But the height is actually messed up too, slightly. Okay, so that's higher, and I did put it one higher, but that was from guesstimating. So let me just adjust these back to where they should be. Cool. And let's play with the width of the store. So is this the wide one? Yeah. So let's do the wide one. Around there. And actually, no. Let's do the standard one there. And we'll do the wider one, just slightly wider than that. Make it like 3 and 3. So slightly over a meter wider. Okay. And export. And we will export this one as well. That's pretty good. Alright, delete that guy out of here. And Ogre standard. Those and just bring them back in. Okay. -90. Let me bring up that snapping for the initial movement at least. Weird. I must be off somewhere in my math where that is, because this is at 8. This was probably just shy of 8, which is why that's coming back. That's coming back slightly larger. All right, let's just take a look at this and see how it looks. And then we want our ogre wall. Oop, that's the wrong ogre wall. We want the 8x8 wall. Make sure both of them are on the grid. There we go. I'm not going to get too crazy with building this one. Just using it to check the scale, so -180. Okay. So that gives me the rough shape. But, you know what? I will build the bottom floor at least out, just so I can see how it feels walking around inside of it. Why is it snapping off? Hold on a second. What is going on there? Weird. I hate when that happens when you're trying to move something and like the process of releasing your finger from the mouse causes your mouse to move before it registers that you released, and you end up throwing the object off by like a snap point or two on the grid. Drives me crazy. Okay, so let's plop that down here. Yeah, so it's not just me is what you're saying, Zukin. Alright, apply that one. And that one. And my bay wall can have collision too. Okay. That way that camera at least feels a little bit more accurate. You're doing something in ZBrush and it was doing crazy on one particular movement. Yeah. Again, ZBrush is like, I probably should spend more time and get used to modeling to some degree in there. Like, I like Maya, you know, jumping between different ortho views and you know, having everything snapping nicely. Man, some of the people that I see that'll go in there with like the knife tool and stuff and just start like cutting stuff up in ZBrush, I don't know, I get too particular about like being able to line everything up nice and neatly. So I've run into that similar thing, like trying to do something really precise and you're just like, why does this keep moving? Over and over and over again. Yeah. Alright, so I saved that, right? I got sidetracked on that story and lost my train of thought, which again will probably slightly be a theme when I stream. I like to go on tangents if people haven't noticed already, and I'm sure as more and more stories and stuff come out, I'll get on deeper and deeper tangents. And my mind will shift tracks occasionally. All right. Yeah, doorway feels good. The wall space for what's essentially a basic room. Although, you know, put basic room in quotations because we can have multiple versions of these that can really break up the repetitiveness of that. But it's feeling not too bad. That definitely is taller than this. I don't know if I like that better or not, but that's probably, this was a one of the ones that was not square, and then I squared this one, so this is like a 4:3 ratio, and that's a, you know, a 1-to-1 ratio. So that's probably why this just feels shorter. I mean, it's not probably, that is exactly why that feels shorter. But yeah, I think that's pretty good. Now to play with the gnomes and get at least the doorways and this a little bit better. And then after that, I'll probably kill this stream and take a break and get some lunch quickly before my kids get home from school. Because I haven't eaten at all today, and it's already almost, what, 2? Yeah, 2. So let's get that out of the way first. And then I can push that geo at some point, so you guys can actually like run around and take a look at it and give me more feedback from just like from actually interacting with it and walking around it, and not just me, and just not watching me do it. I think you probably get a better feel of it that way. All right, so let's do another new scene. And let's make the shaded dunes. And so 2 gnomes about standing on top of each other, although he's not technically straight on top of the other one. There we go. In height for the door, and then what is this? Probably about probably 60 centimeters, 60, 70 centimeters higher for that. That looks like it's cutting about a third off the top. Let's see, it's about half right there. Yeah, I'd say it's closer to a third than a quarter. Okay. Let's import our gnome doors. And our gnome wall. And then also, I'm going to bring in my Zukin's. I was saying mine. I'll bring in Zukin's modifications to the gnome and the human. So 2 gnomes Granted, this isn't snapped to a vertice like the other one is, so it's not going to be like pixel perfect accuracy. That's pretty close. So I'm probably just going to put it right at the top there. So it'll be slightly higher than this. But maybe I'll put a pinch more on the top of that. Okay. So I need to move all this up. Let's get an angle on it. Man, Maya sometimes does some weird stuff with the graphics card when you're in different angles and you're not in wireframe. Alright. I kind of like the width on this too, so let's see how many gnomes we get next to each other here. So about 3 gnomes holding hands in width. Like these accurate measurements that I'm going with today. How do you measure your scales? Do you actually use like a ruler tool or something? No, I just use gnomes. I make them hold hands and go from there. Actually, let's do it this way. I don't know why I'm trying to move the pivots on these. I can just select these like that. What? Oh, it's because I messed the modifications up. Modify center pivot. There we go. And we'll snap that right there. Probably shouldn't have selected all of them when they did that, but whatever. And modify that one's center pivot again. Okay. Better. Gnome units? Who needs metric or imperial when you have gnomes? Alright, so I think I'm going to make this block essentially 3 by 3. To adjust that again. 1 and 2. Okay. Oops. I didn't have that centered like I thought I did. A rounding error in my gnome measurements. Alright. So that one's good. And then if I'm making this 3, I don't know if I want to make this 3 as well. We'll make it 3. Let's make it, Oh yeah, I had it cut off, so it was. I was liking 3 and a 6th, I think it was. Where's the Holt model? Let's bring that over here. Why is it seeing its pivot way over there? That is not accurate at all. There we go. So yeah, cutting off kind of right at the base of his skull. And then there's a couple feet above it. I like that. I'm going to play with that. Let's delete these. I don't need these here anymore. Gnome rulers in the merch store. That's an idea. Just have the gnomes holding hands as the inch markers. All right. I think I like that one. So let's do the other one. Was this the wide one or the... Of course, that was the wide one. So that was the one that I thought I was modeling was the standard. So let's model the standard to what I just modeled. That one at. And then let's really quickly just snap these together. So that looks good. And now let's go to the wide one, and I haven't actually tested the wide ones yet. But if a wide door is essentially 2 people passing through a door comfortably, a wide gnome door will be 4 gnomes holding hands and walking through the doorway. Okay, so... (3x3) Oh, that's not 3x3 though, it's 3, 2, 6. No. Doorway gnome. 3x 2, 6. I also need to like lock down what I'm gonna or what we should use for these naming conventions, because I'm gonna have to kind of stick to something and not randomly be doing this off the top of my head every time I do it, because that's not going to make anybody else's life easy, or nor my own. But if the idea of building the modular pieces to at least be able to let you guys mess around with the modular sections is the plan, I should figure out a good system for naming things, so you guys aren't constantly like, why is this named this and this is named that? Alright, let's just name these brand new wall 3x 2, 6 and G for gnome. Doorway G x2 6. Although I'll probably also, you know, like, I'm using G and O and stuff for the different race scales right now, but that probably won't even be a thing in, or it might be in some cases. Some cases it just might be a folder for, you know, gnome scale and ogre scales and stuff like that. Doorway G, oops, wide 3x2 _ 6. All right. Let's import those, take a look at that, and then I will probably call the stream for today at that point. And then off stream, I'll continue to build these out this afternoon, this evening, where I can push this part at least, and then you guys can get some interaction with it beyond just watching me again. All right, so what was that stuff that I just did? Gnome. Apparently that's Gnome or General Grievous, one of the two. And so those are the doors and wall. Gnome. Okay, imports. Oops, that didn't want. I don't know why I double click on that. It must, you know what? It's got to be again an Unreal thing, because you have to double click to get into material editor. Or not the material editor, the static mesh editor in Unreal. So I keep doing that, and it keeps forcing open Windows 3D Viewer, because that's what its default set to, apparently. All right, so Gnome wide. I want Gnome standard. Nope, that was standard. Or did I just name it wide twice? Nope, that's the old Ogre. And this is... Alright, I named one wrong, but whatever. I can fix that. Oop, helps if I have snapping back on. Oh, did I not? I didn't export these at the right spot, did I? No, I did. Oh, I centered the... It's not off the pivot. There we go. And I am off the grid. There we go. Oop, that was not what I wanted to do. That was what I wanted to do. Okay. So, gnome wall was... Nope, wall 3. Did I not import that? There we go. Yep, I forgot to grab that one. I probably re-imported something I already had in here. is... There we go. Helps if you rotate them both by the same number. I rotated one 90, the other negative 90. That will cause you some issues with your snapping alignment. If you, I have these snapped to. Oh, I forgot to make that a meter in width. Shoot, I'll do that later. Because I'm getting hungry. But I would like to see how this looks on stream before I end it. Close enough for now. Okay, so let's ground these. And just for the sake of consistency, I'll real quickly snap this stuff back together. I just have to make a mental note to fix their the depth of them so that they match the way the other races were done. So that everything's still snapping. I think wall consistency is fine when they're similar, unless there's a real big reason. Like obviously, you know, some areas are going to need, you know, thicker walls and stuff to really get like grand scale. Like, you know, these are much thicker, but it's a much grander structure. These are just more, you know, simple housing type things. Save and let's go to the zone. And we'll log in. I need to re-level my character after I deleted it. Just realized he's still only level 2. I had him like almost level 4. Alright. Oh yeah, that scale works. The ceilings will be a little tighter than like inside that hobbit hole, but again, like Zukin said, I think that hobbit hole has been scaled up slightly since Classic. I'll have to see if I can pop into or find a server that I can pop into the old school zones on the emulator. I don't remember if you can. I don't remember if they're listed as different names. I have it installed on my old machine that's sitting next to me. I don't remember if I have it installed on this one. But I mean, I can just move the files over pretty easily and just create a new hotkey to get past the patcher, the patch me or whatever. Should be easy enough. I don't remember. Does P99 use the older zones, or are they forced to, or were they forced to use the newer ones? It has been so long since I've played on it. Oh, there's a web-based viewer of it. I have on here somewhere, buried in files that I did transfer over from my old computer. zone viewer that you can like rip out the geo. Before I found this project, I was actually planning on remaking Crushbone to scale and or Crushbone to scale in Unreal 5, and I was gonna do like a to scale rebuild of Plane of Disease, but make it look more like it was made of like the ground's made of like diseased flesh, and the water is more like, I don't know, it's putrid slime, and the trees look more like hair follicles growing out of the skin that the ground is. It was gonna be really gross, but it would have been a lot of fun. But that'll be a project that I'll do someday. Just making it look cooler and more diseasey, I guess. Just made that word up. But yeah, no, I'm very happy personally with the scales for these, for kind of the extremes. Like I said, my plan will be to later this evening, after my kids have done homework and dinner and all that. Actually, I got to run to the grocery store too. It was closed earlier when I was doing errands. And make these a little bit nicer, like the original ones. Snap the stuff together, and then I'll push this so you guys can get a chance to kind of run around and look at how stuff feels. But yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with those as ballpark. Like, it doesn't all. Every Gnomes structure, I don't think, should be this size. But this is a good ballpark. Like, hey, between like 2.5 meters to 3 meters is a good ballpark area for a gnomish scale, and probably anywhere between like 7 and 8 meters is good for like an ogre, and then humans is about 4 wide by about 5 tall. We could probably get away also with some areas that are more 4 by 4, but I don't know if we want to get too much smaller than that, unless we really want like tight spaces, which obviously we probably will at some point. And then obviously there'll be points where we want larger, but those are good kind of just ballpark metrics to aim for when we're looking for certain types of feelings when it comes to scale. But yeah, no, I think that is pretty spot on with what I wanted to achieve, at least for right now. And if nobody has any questions or anything like that, I am going to end this stream and go get some food, and then hopefully have this stuff so everybody else can kind of play around with it later. So thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. If actually, you know what, I need to do that mod thing in the chat before I forget. I did set up the chat bot, kind of. Oh, I already have it as a mod, so that should mean. Oh, let me see if I did this correctly. I think it's just. Ha! There, I actually got the commands working. So that, for anybody new who's not already part of the community, that's a link to the game's site. Which again, I don't think I even mentioned that today. I need to get better at like doing that throughout the stream. But this is Monsters and Memories. It's a classic throwback, late 90s, early 2000s inspired MMO that we're building. And if you want to follow along with us, you can do that there. And that is a link to our the M&M Discord server, so you can join that and chat with us. So either of those links are great, and follow, follow my, excuse me, follow my Twitch page here, and I'll be, streaming more as I get out of this scale stuff, start getting into actually, modeling some of this stuff to look like we want, start building out some stuff and working on some materials, building out, trim sheets and stuff like that to kind of bring the world, make it more alive, more handcrafted feeling, and, going from there. So thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys later. And it would be a great idea also if I bring up Streamlabs before I start saying all that stuff. So I can hit end now. So bye, guys.